Okay, good. The studio is open. Okay. Okay, did y'all see the okay, so y'all should see the new link. It should have sent the alert to you. You should get an alert. Benny, Benny, you know how to do it. I'm pretty sure you do too, Pretty Brown, or anybody else that's in the chat. It's gonna send you a new alert, and it's gonna have the Iowa versus Ali Younes day one attempted murder bench trial. Let's hop into that one. I am going to end this live stream, and then we'll stream out of that one for this trial, and then that way I can keep them separated. Okay, guys. All right, guys. I'll see you guys over there. Let's go play outro and. Hi. Yeah. I'm gonna wait for everybody to get in and then I'll start it. Thumbnail. Okay. Got some people over here. Okay, I'm here. Okay, I'm here. Everybody here. We got some other people coming in. Let's see. We got the alert going out. So that's awesome. Here, I'm gonna get this other one started. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and start this one and let the rest of the people just kind of like trickle on in here. Let me take this banner off. Y'all probably don't want to see no more about Karina Cooper right now, right? So we'll hide that right now because we're not dealing with Karina. We'll work with Karina tomorrow.
Once you see that it's good up to the microphone and you're going to be asked some questions. In response to the questions, please respond clearly and slowly. And once you're ready to proceed, counsel, you can go ahead.
Can you please speak and sorry to be my name is Caroline Rachel. It's K-A-R-A-T-O-E-S-C-H-E-L. Ms. Rachel, are you employed anywhere? Yeah. Actually, I work in the kitchen here at FC. And we're employed at that same place in April of 2022. It was not. And where were you working at that? The University of Iowa hospitals. What were you doing for the university? I worked in the MOR, the main ORs. And on April 25th of 2022, were you working that evening? I was. And do you recall about what time your shift ended or you left work? Around 10 p.m. And where were you headed after work? I was on my way to the Quad Cities. And do you recall roughly the path of travel, what roads you took from hospital out of town? Yeah, I went down the main hill, things ran out, and then I turned left on Riverside Drive and eventually veered off to the right. And I don't know what the name is for that road. You were driving on Riverside Drive at some point shortly after 10 p.m. Yes. Did anything draw your attention around that time? Yeah, when I veered off and took that right turn, that train bridge that goes over the road, someone ran out in front of me. Are you able to recall the description of the person you're gonna kind of give?
Yeah.
Would it be the individual seated at the far left of the table?
Yes. Or left.
If you're on the hard left, that witness and identified with him.
Well,
And do you recall what the defendant was wearing?
Yeah, darker, like pants instead of pants, and then puffer coat that had stripes on it.
And what did you observe after he kind of, after you crossed the road?
Yeah, so like I said, he jumped out right in front of my car, and I had to actually slam on my brakes. Like I was right there. And then he continued across the road and was jogging up behind a girl walking on the sidewalk.
And you can see that he was kind of jogging, did it appear that he was following that individual?
It looked like it. Immediately, I felt weird about it.
And can you describe any details you remember about the woman you observed?
So after I passed him jogging up behind her, I met her on the sidewalk, and she actually looked right at me. She had a bag over her shoulder, and her hair was up in a flip, and she just looked like she was walking. She didn't look like she was in a hurry at all. I don't know. She didn't seem alarmed.
And what happened next?
I kept driving. I went over there's a little crosswalk area, and then you come up to a stop sign, and I remember looking in my mirrors because I felt weird about it, and I didn't see anything. So I kept driving, and then I got further down the road to right on over Hampshires where you turn to there, and I messaged my friends a voice message, and I said, if you see anything tomorrow, let me know, because that seems very weird to me when I just saw. And then about an hour later, once I got to the Quad Cities, the hawk alert came out, so I pulled over and called the cops.
And the hawk alert you described, is that something that automatically comes to your phone at that time?
Yeah, since I was an employee in the hospital, I had it, it's just automatic, you can turn it on, and I had it saved in my phone.
And do you recall, did you read anything about the description or any details about the hawk alert before you called law enforcement?
The only thing that I heard on hawk alert was attack at and then I hung up because I knew what it was going to say.
And at that point, then you called police to make that report?
Yeah.
And were you able to describe the defendant as you know today?
I remember describing the coat and just the overall outfit.
Thank you. No further questions.
cross-examination.
Thank you. Ms. Oshel?
Hazel.
Sorry about that. So, my understanding is you were going north on Riverside Drive, is that right?
Yeah, towards Corville.
Right, okay. And then you veered off, you said to the right to go under this train bridge. Now, you say that you saw someone running across the street and nearly hit that person, right? Where was the female?
She had already crossed the road to the left and was walking on the same side as the art building.
Well, and you said she'd already crossed the road. Did you see her crossing the road?
No, she had already crossed the road before I got there.
Do you know where the woman was before you came up on the scene? I mean, do you have any idea where she came from?
Not to my knowledge, but I know that she had to cross the road at some point because there's no sidewalk.
Okay.
It goes like that.
So the woman was walking on the west side of Riverside Drive?
Like you're on the left. Okay. Yeah.
The left side from where you were driving.
Yes, my left.
And then, did you see any photographs in the hours after this incident was reported? There was photographs circulated of a person wearing a striped coat, that sort of thing.
I saw news articles like hours after I'd already called the police and described what I saw.
All right. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Any redirect? All right, thank you. You can sit there. Next witness.
The state following Abigail Billingsley.
Your Honor, Mr. Collin, any objections to this witness?
No, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be true? Okay, please go ahead and have a seat, and please speak slowly and clearly in response to the questions that you will soon get. Okay, go ahead, please.
Good morning. Could you please state your name and spell it slowly for the court?
My first name is Abby, A-B-B-B-Y. Last name is Billingsley, B-I-N-G-S-L-E-Y.
What is your occupation
I'm a police officer.
and where are you employed?
Currently, I am employed in the city of Bettendorf, located in Bettendorf, Iowa.
And how long have you been a police officer?
I'm going on my 7th year.
What was your education and training to be an officer?
I completed my basic training with the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy program in 2018, and then I've had various trainings since then.
And before you went to the city of Bettendorf, where were you employed?
I was employed with the University of Iowa Department of Public Safety.
Sorry. And how long were you employed there?
I was employed for approximately 4 years.
So right after you got out of the academy?
Correct.
And were you working there in April of 2022?
Yes.
And were you working on April 25th of 2022?
Yes.
What shift were you working that day?
I was working from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
And do you ride, when you work for the University of Iowa Police Department, do you ride alone or do you have a partner who rides with you?
I ride alone.
And at some point during your shift, were you called to the area of the Art Building West?
Yes.
Do you remember about what time that was?
Approximately 10:18 p.m.
And do you remember what the nature of the call was?
It was a medical call for an unconscious female laying on the ground.
And as a University of Iowa police officer, were you called to medical calls
All the time.
Was that part of your job?
Yes.
And do you remember how long it took you to get there?
I don't.
I'm going to ask you about something that's been referred to before. It's called a hawk alert. Can you explain what a hawk alert is?
So a hawk alert is disseminated by our agency in the event that there is something major or critical incident going on within the campus area.
And is that just for community safety?
Yes.
And so, as an officer, did you have to report things that would lead to hawk alerts?
Yes.
So you said you got called to the art building. What did you find when you got there?
When I showed up on scene, I walked over and I observed an ambulance, what appeared to be medical personnel, along with somebody on a cot and 2 females standing nearby.
And what did you do?
I immediately went over to a ambulance member and I was informed that somebody was strangled.
The person on the cot was strangled?
Yes.
And what did you do next?
Next, I radioed that information from my fellow officers so they were aware of what I was receiving on scene. And then I believe I walked over to the 2 females standing by to get my information.
And when you walked over to the 2 females, was the person still there in the cot?
Yes, she was receiving medical attention from the ambulance provider.
And did you have a chance to interact with the person at all?
Yes, I did after the fact.
When you say after the fact, what does that mean?
I was, while she was giving medical attention, I didn't want to interfere with that. So I spoke to the two females that were nearby. The ambulance crew had transported and got into the ambulance, and then I went into the ambulance to speak to the victim.
And so you said Anne is, and is that the person's name?
Yes.
Do you remember her last name?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
That's okay, it's 3 years ago. So what did you learn about the situation from the individuals that were there with her?
They were walking nearby and had observed a male on top of the female who then had said to the two females,
Excuse me, Officer Lindsay, do you need to refresh your recollection with your report?
yes,
Is that okay?
Yes, so I would just tell the witness to please, when you do refresh your recollection, take a look at your report, and then set it aside when you're ready to proceed with the question.
okay. All right. The male had told the two females standing by, look, I think she passed out and went away to go get help. They said that they waited a couple of seconds and realized no help was coming, so then they called for help.
And what did you do next after you talked to them?
I took down their information. I believe I asked if they recognized or had any type of demographics of this male, and then I went into the ambulance.
And what did you learn when you were in the ambulance?
I spoke to the victim. Again, she didn't remember a whole lot, but she told me that she was knocked down.
Did you say she was knocked down by another person?
Yes,
And so did that change the nature of the call?
yes, it went from no longer being a medical assault at that point.
And is that when the hawk alert went out?
Not at that time, no.
Did you report something that made the hawk alert go out?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was at the hospital, and I was able to get more information from the victim.
And so did you ride in the ambulance with Anne to the hospital?
I did not.
Did you ride in your car?
Yes,
And then did you go to her at the hospital?
I did.
And what did you learn about what had happened when you were in the hospital?
I have learned that her $20,000 earnings were stolen. At that point in time, I could see that she had physical injuries. She had also urinated on herself and was had passed out.
And do you know how that happened, or do you know, how did she report that happening?
She told me that she was choked. I believe her throat was strangled. And then in my video, I had animated how she was choked and went with my two open hands and went like this. And she said yes.
And so what did you do next? After you learned that?
After that, I believe I asked her more demographics, if she remembered what he looked like. I believe I stepped out of the room to phone a sergeant who was with me that night to let him in on the information and then get back into the room.
And so at that point, it became an investigation to locate the person.
Absolutely.
And did you take some pictures when you were at the hospital with Anne?
Yes.
And was she okay with that?
Yes.
I'm gonna show you, hopefully I'm gonna show you. what's been marked State's Exhibit 9.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You can look at, it should be on your screen. Yep.
I have to put it here too.
If you're not marked.
Some other questions?
Just so she can show you the exhibits, because the screen is.
So you have in your hands State's Exhibit 9. Yes. State's Exhibit 10.
Yes,
State's Exhibit 11.
yes,
State's Exhibit 12.
yes,
State's Exhibit 13.
yes.
And are those all the pictures, or at least a portion of the pictures that we took at the hospital?
Yes.
Those 26. Your Honor, the state would offer State's Exhibit 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Any objection?
No objection.
There have been?
Your Honor, need to publish.
Yes.
So it says that.
So it says the cable's not connected. I wonder if, go try using your co-counsel's laptop. Counsel, is that your laptop?
So that's State's Exhibit 9 that's being shown. And what is that a picture of?
That would be Ann's eye.
And did Ann say that she had gotten hit in the eye?
Yes, she felt pain there.
And so when you take pictures, were you just taking pictures of the things she described and the things you observed?
Yes,
And also in State's Exhibit 10. And what is that a picture of?
that is bruising on the side of Ann's face.
State's Exhibit 11. What does that show?
That appeared to be a fresh abrasion on Ann's face.
State's Exhibit 12. And what is that a picture of?
That would be a picture of Ann's neck showing redness, being strangled.
State's Exhibit 15. And,
I'm sorry.
you're okay. What does that show?
That is another picture of Ann's neck at a different angle showing, her finger marks.
Thank you. After you took the pictures in the hospital, what did you do next?
After I took the photos, I gave, again, my contact information, went further that, we have been for the suspect. I also told her that detective would be in contact with her tomorrow, and I left to speak with my sergeant on the phone.
And at that point, you were a patrol officer at that time, is that correct? And so did the case get turned over to investigations at that moment to follow up? I don't think they're
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Officer, or what's your title now?
I'm a police officer.
Officer. Officer Billingsley, I just had questions, a lot of which are about sort of the time frame of everything that happened, okay? Let me understand this based on what the other witnesses have said. You actually got the call to respond to the Art Building West because of an unconscious female, is that what you're saying? In other words, you didn't get a call to show up because someone had been assaulted. You were already in the process of responding to the medical call?
Correct.
All right. Did you at some point get a different report that in fact it was potentially a police matter? Like maybe when you were on the way, or does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
So there's been previous testimony that at some point this went out as a medical call, and then later it became potentially a police matter when it was discovered that this patient had been strangled. Did you get that over the radio at all, or did you just sort of show up because it was a medical call?
Initially, if I understand your question, initially when the call came out, it was skewed as a medical call. When I arrived on the scene, I got information that she was strangled, and I put that over the air to my fellow officers to get officers in the area to find the suspect. At that point in time, that's when the call kind of changed in that nature.
Okay, and I just want to be clear, you were already present on the scene when that change occurred.
Yes, sir.
All right, and when you arrived, the patient had already been put on a cot by the ambulance crew.
Yes.
And was Anne, the patient, was she at that point able to have a conversation with the ambulance? Or you or
Yes, she was conscious. If that's your question.
yes, and then once she was put into the ambulance, she was capable of having a conversation about what had happened.
Yes.
All right. Do you know what time you arrived on the scene at the Art Building West?
According to my report, it shows
And
it's 10:18
if you want to look at it, go ahead, like the judge said, just go ahead and look at it and feel free.
p.m.
10:18 p.m. Okay. And then, and once we just said, by the time you got there, and the patient was already conscious and talking to you.
Correct.
And then, my understanding is, she went with the ambulance to the hospital. You drove separately, but met her at the hospital. Is that right?
Correct.
You know what time you got to the hospital to talk to Anne, the patient?
May I look back to my report?
Yes.
I arrived at the university at 10:47 p.m.
Okay. 10:47. So roughly a half an hour after you first arrived at the scene.
Yes.
Thereabouts. And once again, once you were at the hospital, and the patient was able to fully discuss with you what had happened to her that night.
From what she remembered, yes.
Right. But I mean, she was awake, she was trying to tell you.
Yes.
And you talked about how she was even kind of able to kind of act it out and ask her if this is what the person did, that sort of thing.
Yes.
She was fully with it and able to do so.
Yes.
These photographs, were they taken shortly after you got to the hospital?
Yes.
All right, so you don't have a timestamp on these, but it's safe to say they were taken somewhere near 11 o'clock that night?
Yes.
Once you left the hospital after taking the photographs, you indicated to Anne that detectives would be in touch with her, right?
Yes.
And that you were effectively, that was the end of your involvement with this case.
Yes.
Thank you, I have no further questions.
Any redirect? All right, thank you. You can step down. All right. Can I Merci, Ali Younes.
Okay, so it looks like he's pulling them to a sidebar, and I'm almost sure this is the last witness that we needed to watch on this stream here. So I'm gonna get the next one set up really quickly for us. I already have it. I just need to kind of like add it to it. I guess after lunch, like I said. And this next portion is not that long, so here we go. Let me get it up here. Oh, you missed the picture of her neck? Yeah. I mean, it was really, really red. That's what I could tell you. I'm pretty sure they may show it again, but yeah, it was really, really red. I was gonna say I could rewind it, but I'd already closed a little feedback. Hopefully they'll bring it back in here. I'm gonna let you know. I know you just be listening sometimes, Pretty Brown. I'll let you know if I see something, a photo, like look, so you could pause, so you could come look. Okay, let's see. Let's see if this better.
That the state is going to call another witness at this time?
Yes, Your Honor, the state calls Ann Rizzo.
All right, come on in, please. We'll come on down to the front. The witness chair is to my left. And if you could please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be true? Okay, please have a seat. And then once you're seated, if you could scoot up to the microphone. We're going to be asking some questions. And in response to the questions, please speak into the microphone slowly and clearly. All right?
Yes.
Okay. And then once you're ready, counsel, you can proceed with your questions.
Please state your full name and spell it for the court.
Ann Rizzo, A-N-N-E-R-I-Z-Z-O.
And where do you live, Ms. Rizzo?
I live at 228 Richard Street, Iowa City, Iowa.
And how long have you lived at that location?
33 years,
And how long have you lived in Iowa City?
61.
What do you do for a living?
I'm the business manager for WGN Companies, which owns Hands Jewelers.
And how long have you been involved with Hands Jewelers?
Over 30 years.
And why are you so involved with Hands Jewelers?
My family owns the store. It's in its 5th generation.
Did you go to college?
I did.
And where did you go?
I went to Northwestern University.
And what is your educational background? What did you major in?
I majored in community development and public policy. I also have a master's degree in business from the University of Iowa.
And are you married?
I am
And who are you married to?
Matthew Rizzo,
How long have you and Matthew been married?
34 years.
That's right. Better get that one right. And is he involved in the family business also?
He is not.
What does he do?
He is a physician.
And do you have children?
We do.
How many children do you
We
have?
have 2,
How old are your children?
34 and 28.
And when you say you work at the jewelry store, what has been your typical schedule?
So my typical schedule is we have a central office, which I start out just off 20th Street. And then I start there somewhere around 7:30. I end up getting my work together and going over to the store somewhere around 9. And then I work the store a good portion of the day, and then I come back to my office to work in the evening.
So how long are your days?
Really long.
Is that 30 to 9 or 10 at night?
Yes, they can be. I take breaks during that time, however.
And how do you usually get to work?
I walk.
And have you always walked
I've always walked.
in all of the years that you?
Well, my kids were little, I had to take a car.
Yeah.
In case I had to pick them up. But since my kids could drive and get around, I've always walked.
And about how far is the distance from downtown to your house?
It's a little over a mile.
I'm gonna take you back to April 25th of 2022. Do you remember that particular day?
I do.
And when were you working on that day?
It's probably there between 7 and 8, and I left work at 10.
Just a normal day for you?
Yes.
And did you stay at one location the whole time, or did you
Well,
go?
I went back and forth. So I started my morning in our office and went to the store and I came back to the office.
I'm gonna direct you to State's Exhibit 1, which is actually in front of you, and it's state in front of that. That's actually an Elmo. To your right.
Oh, right.
To your right, yes. If you want to point, if you could just take a look at it. Are you able to see it?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to just point where the jewelry store is?
Yeah, just, sorry, I have to orient myself here. The jewelry store is here.
Okay. And then you don't have the office and the jewelry store in the same location?
We do not.
Okay. And so where is the office?
The office is here.
And so you ended April 25th, 2022 at the office?
Yes,
And is the office above a restaurant?
it is. It's above Zoomer's.
Is that the noodle place?
Yes.
And so, you decided to walk home?
Yes.
Okay. And do you want to point out where approximately, I know it's probably not on the map, but where approximately your home is?
It's like my home is right here.
So it's on the west side of the
Of the
river?
river, yes.
Okay. Is it near any landmarks?
Well, the university landmarks would be it's near the College of Public Health and the art building out west, and the working art building, visual arts building.
And taking you back to April 25th of 2022, do you remember what the weather was like that day?
It's really cold.
And so can you tell me, using the map, what route you took home that night when you walked home?
So I left my office, went out the door, went down Iowa Avenue. I usually traverse the Pendercrest. And sorry, I got hit there.
Can you put pull the mic close to your.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
It's hard to look at the top down here.
Yeah.
So I went to the Pendercrest down East Jefferson, North Madison, and past the IMU.
Did you say past the IMU?
Yes, the I Memorial Union. And we turned left, got right after it to get to the footbridge. And at the footbridge, I stopped, put my mittens on, and got my coat.
Your Honor, I don't want to interrupt, but I really have having trouble hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm very sorry,
No,
I
it's
hate
fine.
you to.
I'll project. That's, thank you.
If you could, if
Oh.
you speak, yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm not used to this. So I went across the footbridge, and then I crossed the street. Normally, I walked the street, I didn't cross the street. I kitty cornered this land here to just shorten it up. It was really cold. I went to the Riverside Drive, and then I made an unfortunate decision to get home faster, so I knew that it was early enough, there were people around, and I went through the Art West building, and then I was assaulted.
And so you said you went through the Art West.
Well, I mean, I went on the boardwalk, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't go into the building, I walked, there's a sidewalk that goes onto a boardwalk.
What, can you show me what route you would have taken home if you weren't so old?
Yes, I would have done this. Or I would have done this, which is paved.
Okay.
Oh, this is what I was intending to do, but I got stopped. This night I was intending to do this.
And so that night you were walking and you went, you said the boardwalk?
Yes, there's a boardwalk where you can sit and look at the pond.
Greg, I'd like to show State's Exhibit 7.
And do you have it on your laptop?
Yeah. So it should be on your screen, or you can. So that's the side of the building that you walked in.
Yes, that's the side.
And so what happened as you were walking home past the art building?
So as I entered the concrete that enters into the boardwalk, I thought there could be somebody following me. And I got partway out of the boardwalk.
Excuse me, did you say you thought there could be somebody following?
Yes, I sensed someone was following me at that point.
Okay. What was going through your head at that point?
That I might be in trouble.
And so what do you mean when you say you might be in trouble?
Because I was entering a location where it was not particularly safe and I couldn't turn around and escape in any meaningful way.
And so what happened next?
So I continued to walk and I accelerated and I turned around. I looked directly at the assailant in hopes that if I made eye contact with the assailant, that person might back down.
How did you know somebody was behind you?
I heard something and I sensed something.
Were you walking fast?
I was walking quickly. I sped up the second I thought I was being followed.
Were you carrying anything?
I had a purse.
And what kind of purse was it?
It was a purse that had chain handles and then leather straps.
Was it open? Like
It was open.
And what side were you carrying it on?
I believe it was my left.
And what was in your purse?
My wallet, money, checkbooks, very few keys. Probably a mask at that time, tissues.
How much money was in your wallet?
Oh, there was probably over $1,000.
In cash?
Yes,
Okay. And so you testified that you sensed somebody was behind you.
yes,
You started walking faster.
yes.
What happened next?
When I walked faster, I turned around as I walked quickly, and I looked at him.
Okay, so when you turned around, what did you see?
I saw a man with a pretty white face, a broad forehead, fairly large nose, a jacket that was red, white, and black with stripes.
And was he bigger than you?
He was bigger than I was, and he was accelerating towards me.
Sorry to ask this, but what, at that time, what was your height and weight?
5'3", 110.
And so what happened when you turned around?
I started to run as fast as I could, and he caught up with me way too fast.
Did he say anything?
He said nothing.
Did you say anything?
I couldn't get a scream out.
And then what happened?
He tackled me, put his arms around me, and he tackled me like a football player would tackle you.
Was he behind you?
He was behind me, yes.
And where along the boardwalk do you remember the location?
I think it was past the first bench, set of benches. Second, maybe up to where that bench is on there, I'm not sure.
Okay. So he tackled you from behind.
Yes.
Did he say anything at that point?
No,
Did you say anything?
no, I was stunned.
What happened next? What was going through your head when that was happening?
I knew I was going to hit the ground, and I was concerned I hit my head. And so I was concerned about not passing out by hitting my head. So I was trying to fall so I wouldn't hurt myself.
Do you have any health issues?
None.
Do you get seizures?
No.
Nothing?
No.
You're pretty boring health-wise?
I'm pretty boring, and if I had seizures, my husband is a neurologist, I'd know.
So he tackled you to the ground. Did you manage not to hit your head? Do you remember what happened there?
I knew that I hadn't hit my head, and I hadn't hit my teeth, and I hadn't hit my glasses,
How did you know you had to hit your glasses?
because I wore glasses all my life, and I know what it's like to be hit in the face, and have your glasses pressed really hard against your head.
So at one point, were you on the ground?
I was on the ground.
And where was he?
He was on top of me, behind me, still. He had his arms around me still.
Was he laying on top of you?
Yes.
And what, was he still not saying anything?
He said nothing.
He didn't ask for money?
No,
He didn't ask for anything?
no.
What happened next?
After I realized I was okay physically, then I don't have much recollection at that moment what happened.
At some point, did you remember being on your back?
I do.
Where was he?
He was straddling me on top of me.
And were you looking at him?
I couldn't see him.
And when he was straddled, did he flip you over at some point?
Yes, because I landed face down,
Okay.
and at some point, which I do not know when that was, I was turned over.
And you remember being on your back
Yes,
and he was on top of you?
yes.
And what was he doing?
He was strangling me.
And how do you know he was strangling you?
I woke up mid-strangulation, and I could feel his hands around my neck.
Were you able to breathe?
I was, because I woke up, and I was protecting my airway. I knew that I needed to make the muscles in my neck taut in order to continue to breathe.
And at some point, did you lose consciousness?
I did, but before that point, my arms were like over my chest. I tried to push up, and the part when I pushed up, he pushed harder. So
Did you push up? Why did you push up?
I was trying to save myself and get him to come get off of me. I thought maybe he would respond and just think he was done.
But he was not done.
He was not done. No.
And so you tried to get him off you, and then what happened?
So then I relaxed because I wanted him to loosen his grip or not tighten it anymore. And then I tried to speak. And I said very, very slowly because I realized as I tried to speak, no vocal sounds come out. So I mouthed the words twice. Please don't hurt me. I will give you anything you want. And I did it twice. And I probably was slower I remember trying to enunciate because when you can't talk and you're getting strangled, I didn't know, I just couldn't get a voice out. I tried it again to see if I could get a voice out, which I couldn't. And after the second time, I couldn't withstand the strangulation strain.
And so at some point, what's the next thing you remember?
The next thing I remember is I was leaning against somebody must have been on their knees or a lap I was just leaning up against someone's lap.
And this person that strangled you, had you ever met him before? Did you recognize him?
No,
He was a complete stranger.
yes.
And what was going through your mind when you were trying to fight him off and get him off of you?
I thought that if I couldn't protect my airway for much longer, that I might die. The last time I closed my eyes, I thought I may never wake up.
So you thought you were going to die?
Yes.
And so you woke up, you said in somebody's arms,
I think that's somebody's lap.
okay? And did you know that person?
I did not.
And when you woke up, were you in pain?
Yeah, it hurts. Yes.
What hurt?
When my neck hurt from the pressure.
Were you able to talk clearly?
No.
Did you have pain in your throat?
Yes, having a bad, hoarse, sore throat. The neck muscles were very sore.
What about your face? Did your face, you said you were trying to stop from hitting.
Oh, yeah, I was more concerned about my inability to communicate. The words didn't come out. And the right words didn't come out. Like the words I was trying to say.
So would you say you were confused?
It was confusing, yes, because you don't know why things are not working, and you just sort of don't have the ability to get it together.
And do you remember paramedics coming?
I do.
Do you remember being taken to the emergency room?
I do.
And were you wearing some earrings?
I was.
And what, can you tell me about those earrings?
They're a gift from my husband. They're diamond earrings.
And what is their value?
They're worth about $25,000.
And when you, at some point, did you realize they were missing?
I did not realize they were missing until I was actually in the emergency room.
And was there anything missing from your purse?
Nothing.
Everything was there, cash, credit cards, keys.
Everything was there.
And so what, you were at that ER for a period of time,
Yes.
and then did police officers come and interview you,
Yes.
check to make sure?
Yes.
And then did you go home?
I did.
And who did you go home with?
I went home with my nephew, Charlie Musser.
And in the week that followed or so, did you continue to feel pain?
Yes.
And what was, where was your pain?
Pain in the neck, eye pain, the throat. Speaking was hoarse initially. Your muscles are sore.
And did that continue, like the pain in your throat and the hoarseness, did that continue?
Yes.
And did you go back to your primary care physician at some point?
I did.
And you said you had pain in your eye.
Yes.
What was that from?
I was hit, was punched, yeah,
Do you remember when you punched him?
I don't.
Did you have a black eye when you?
Oh, I had a tremendous black eye, yes.
Did you have a black eye when you left the jewelry store that night?
No, I had no black eye,
But you woke up with a black eye?
yes,
Do you remember your primary care physician taking pictures of that?
yes.
I'm gonna show you, show her State's Exhibit 14.
Okay.
Can she see
Which? Did you want to use the laptop or the Elmo?
that? I was gonna use the.
Okay. It's connected to the same laptop. Do you want to try the Elmo instead?
Here, I'm gonna show her before taking it.
I'm showing you States Exhibit 14 and 15.
Yes,
Do you recognize those pictures?
yes.
What are those pictures of?
Those are pictures of me and my black eye.
I'm gonna show you 16 too, sorry.
We probably about to see some photos, guys.
Yeah,
Alert, alert, alert. Photos on the way, possibly.
On May 3rd,
Yes,
your primary care physician.
yes,
And that was about 10 days after this happened.
yes.
Your Honor, the state would move to admit States Exhibit 14, 15, and 16 and ask to publish them.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, exhibits 14, 15, and 16 are admitted. You may publish at this time. So, counsel, did you want to do it with the Elmo or the laptop?
Didn't-
Okay. I only see that, I think you need to drag it over just a little bit more. Here, let me put it on the big screen. You got it.
So that's your left eye,
Yes,
States Exhibit 14, and then States Exhibit 15. Is that?
yes,
And did your doctor pull your eye out so that she could see the?
yes,
And then 16, that's another view of your eye.
yes,
And fair to say that that's not what it looked like when you left the emergency room?
that's correct.
It took some time for that to happen.
Yes,
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Are you finished with the exhibit?
Yes.
All right, cross-examination?
Mr. Rizzo, can you hear me okay?
yes,
Mr. Rizzo, my name is Jeff Powell, I represent Mr. Younes in this case, you understand that?
yes.
So I have a few questions. During the attack, you were asked about whether or not, I mean, you don't remember actually being punched, isn't that true?
That's correct.
Do you know whether your glasses ever actually came off of your face?
I don't think they were off, they might have moved, but they weren't. I mean, I had glasses on afterwards, so I don't know the trajectory of the glasses from when I fell
Sure.
to when I had them on.
Okay. And so I guess my question is, from the time you lost consciousness and then you woke up, as far as you know, your glasses were still on your face.
I can't can't say that. I know that my glasses were on my face when I woke up, and they were in perfect shape.
Okay, and that was maybe something you talked about that you didn't notice there were no scratches on them, there was no damage to them.
Correct.
So you don't believe you actually hit your glasses on the pavement, for example?
Correct. And in order to see, I have to have my glasses on.
Fair enough. I do understand that you might not have a perfect memory of, are you stating that you remember exactly how this person was sort of sitting on top of you or straddling you? Do you have a memory of that, or?
I do. It's something I will never forget.
But your testimony is you really couldn't see that person's face, you could see their jacket?
I could see their jacket. I opened my eyes up at one point, and I saw white, which I'm presuming was the white part of his jacket. He was on top of me in a way that he was restricting the view of his face.
I understand, okay. Is it your testimony that you remember seeing the paramedics arrive at the scene?
It's my testimony that I saw the paramedics. I heard the siren.
You did hear the siren? Do you remember, and if you don't, that's okay, whether or not when you sort of regained consciousness, were the paramedics already there, or?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. At some point, you agree that you were able to communicate or attempt to communicate with the paramedics as to what had happened to you?
I was able to communicate very poorly.
And by that, you mean you were having trouble with speech, right? You were not able to
Trouble with speech, trouble thinking.
And then at some point, you remember being put onto the cot.
Yes.
At that point, do you feel like you were able to communicate and tell the paramedics what was going on?
No, my voice was still pretty compromised. It was hard. I did a really good job based on what I was capable of doing, but it wasn't like I'm talking to you.
And I understand. Were you able to, for instance, tell the paramedics or the police officers what had happened leading up to this attack? Were you able to formulate that and say it?
No.
No?
I was not concerned with that. So that question wasn't asked.
Okay, all right. Once you were in the ambulance, do you recall being in the ambulance?
Yes.
At that point in time, you think you were able to describe for whoever was maybe asking what had happened?
Yes, I remember describing that. Once in the ambulance, yes.
Okay, all right.
I also remember when people were asking what happened, I couldn't, prior to the ambulance, I literally couldn't get a word out of my mouth.
Right.
They kept asking, and I was like, I couldn't get one word strangle out.
Do you remember an officer Billingsley, coming to the emergency room you talked to?
There was an officer in the emergency room, yes.
Any idea how long after you had been in the emergency room that officer would have shown up?
I have no idea.
Do you have any idea how long you stayed in the ER that evening before you were released?
I think it was there till somewhere between 2 and 3 in the morning.
Okay, so if you got there between 10:30 and 11, you think you were released by between 2 and 3 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, you were asked about the earrings that you were wearing that night. Right? And I think you were previously asked about how you feel the earrings were removed from your ears. Do you remember that?
I did.
Tell me about what you noticed and what you think happened with your earrings.
When the police asked me in the emergency room, did you take anything? And I wear very little jewelry. And I looked at the obvious places, which would be my hand, my watch, and a necklace. And then I said, no, I don't think so. And I had completely forgotten I have earrings. And then I put my hands in my ears and said, oh, no, he stole my earrings. And he stole them in such a way that he took them off.
I mean, what do you mean?
I have a particular kind of back on my earring. It's pretty hard to just rip them out of your ears.
Did you describe him previously as whoever this was really nicely took off your earrings?
Nicely is the wrong, I should not have chosen that word. He was very, he didn't damage my ear, let's put it that way.
Okay.
He could have.
And just so I'm clear, are you stating you didn't actually say he really nicely took
Oh,
off?
I said that,
Okay. You,
because I was shocked and amazed
okay.
because of the violence of the act.
All right. And you're saying now maybe that was the wrong choice of words?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're in court.
But at any rate, the point of what you were saying was that this person did not yank the earrings out of your ears, correct?
That's what I surmised, yes.
Took the time to carefully take something off of them and not injure your ears in any way.
Right.
And he would have had to, I think in your words, he would have had to do that twice.
That's correct.
And your testimony was that these pictures were allowed 10 days after the attack?
Yes.
Thank you, those are my questions.
Any reader?
You have no recollection of anybody taking your earrings off, do you?
That's correct.
Was your hair as long as it is now in April of 2022?
Yes.
Would somebody have seen your earrings from what you were wearing?
No, it was, no, not unless I was laying on my back.
And you don't remember the moment where you stopped being strangled, do you?
No, I passed out.
So the last thing you remember was you're being strangled, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you woke up and somebody was holding you that you didn't know.
Right.
Thank you, no further questions.
Any readers?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You can step down from the witness stand. Next witness, please.
State Council Maria Ortiz.
Hello, you can come on down to the front. This is where the witness chair is located to my left. And if you could raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be true?
Yes.
Okay, please have a seat. And in a moment, we'll be asking some questions. Please speak into the microphone slowly and clearly in response to the questions, okay? All right. When you're ready, counsel, you can proceed.
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Maria Ortiz, Mariaortiz.
Good afternoon, Ms. Ortiz. Can you tell us, are you employed anymore?
Yes, I'm employed at St. Luke's. I'm not a senior care and one love homes.
And is that a zero?
Yes.
I'm going to take you back to 2022, April of 2022. Can you tell us, well, first I'm going to back forward. Can you us if you know an individual named Ali Younes?
Yes,
See the individual seated to the far left in the checkered shirt?
yes.
I don't think the record reflects that the witness is identified as the defendant.
It will.
Can you tell us when you first met the defendant, Mr. Younes?
I believe I met him in October of 21
Do you recall how you guys met?
on Facebook dating.
So online first?
Yes.
And how long was your relationship?
Up until, well, I had known him up until the incident, and then afterwards for a few months.
Were you guys in a relationship throughout from October of 2021 through April of 2022?
It was more of a on and off again thing. Towards the end of March, we decided to be kind of like an exclusive couple.
And was that in March of 2022?
Yes.
During the course of this relationship or the time that you knew Mr. Younes, where were you residing?
It was on Johnson Street here in Rapid City.
Do you recall where the defendant was living when you first met him?
I think it was Stanley Hall.
Somewhere on the University of Iowa campus?
Yes.
Are you aware if the defendant remained in that same residence throughout the course of your relationship?
No, there was a few months where we weren't really speaking, and when we did start talking again, he was living at Birch Hall.
You said your sort of exclusive dating relationship started around March of 2022.
Yes.
Throughout the course of your relationship and knowing Mr. Younes, did you ever spend time with him at the art building West?
Yes.
How many times did you say?
Once.
Were you aware, once where you were together?
Yes.
Were you aware of any times that Mr. Younes would spend at art building West without you?
I believe so.
When he took you to art building West, do you recall when about that was?
It was in the evening.
Would that have been sometime closer to the incident in April 2022 or before?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to leading questions and ask the counsel to ask more direct questions of the witness.
Assistant.
When would Mr. Younes have taken you to the art building West? It would have been before, so maybe in April or March. Yeah, March.
And what time did you say you remember being there?
It was night, so probably around like 8:39.
Do you recall what you did there?
We hung out. He was kind of sort of like jumping off of things. So there was like a rock that he like jumped off of and landed on his feet. At one point he like jumped into the like the pond. I don't know if he was like on a branch and then like fell in, but I do remember him being wet because his clothes were wet when we got back to my car.
And is the pond there next to the art building?
Yeah, I believe it's part of the art building West.
Ms. Ortiz, I'm going to direct our attention now to April 25th of 2022. Do you recall that date?
Briefly.
Do you recall having contact with the defendant on that date?
Yes.
And can you tell me, from the best that you can remember, when the first sort of contact you had with him on April 25th of 2022?
I believe it was earlier in the day. There was like a period of time where he had not like responded to my text message. And so it was closer to like end of 9, closer to 10 that I called him and asked him if he wanted to hang out. And he's like, yeah, come pick me up. And so within like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I was there picking him up.
Was it typical for you, Mr. Younes, to spend time at your residence?
Yes.
And that would be South Johnson Street, you said?
Yes.
Did you spend any time with Mr. Younes in his residence for either of those?
I believe I was there once or twice.
So fair to say more frequently time spent at your residence?
Yes.
So you said you believe he messaged you around 10 p.m.?
So I had texted him throughout the day, and then there was a period of 3 or 4 hours that I didn't have any contact with him. And so I'm not sure if I had texted him and was like, hey, what are you doing? But then it was closer to bedtime almost, and I was like, I just decided to call him.
And you recall, did you go and pick your defendant up?
Yes.
And where did you pick him up at?
I picked him up in front of Burge Hall.
Was it typical of you to take Mr. Younes up or drive him around?
Yes.
When you picked the defendant up, do you recall anything about his demeanor that evening?
He seemed a little bit paranoid. He got into my car a little quicker than usual.
Is there anything else you can tell us about him being paranoid? What did you think?
I just remember him getting in my car and he was just kind of looking around.
Do you recall what he was wearing at that time?
I believe he was wearing sweatpants and a Tommy Hilfiger puffer jacket that was red, white, and blue, I believe. I know it was red and white.
Have you ever seen him wear that particular jacket before?
Yes.
Did he say anything to you when you got to your vehicle?
No.
And where did you go after you picked him up?
To my house, to my apartment.
What happened after you returned to your apartment that evening?
We hung out. At some point, we ordered gummies. At the time, I was smoking marijuana recreationally. So at some point during the evening, we did smoke marijuana together. And then I remember us going to bed. I don't really remember what time. But we pretty much just stayed in and hung out.
At any point in that evening, did you receive a hot alert?
Yes, I got one to my email and I believe a text message.
And at that time, were you set up to receive those?
Yes.
And so did that come sort of automatically to your email?
Yes.
Do you recall if the defendant received a hot alert as well?
I'm not sure, but I know we were standing in my kitchen at that time, and I remember telling him about the hot alert, but I'm not sure if he was signed up for it.
After you told him about the hot alert, what did he think?
What I can recall from that night is, I'm not sure if I said it out loud, but when I read the hot alert, our building wested out the description, the jacket, and then I remember looking at him, and part of me was just what did you do? What happened? And I remember he just got super defensive, and he looked at his jacket, and he's like, oh, it's only a few of those colors. It doesn't match the description. And then we just kind of dropped it after that.
What happened after that?
We ordered gummies, had gummies in the living room. I do remember at some point, whether it was after we got gummies, he stopped and was like, hey, I want to tell you something. And I was like, okay, what's up? And he was like, never mind. Never mind. And I was like, okay, that's fine. After that, we probably hung out for another hour or so and then went to bed.
Do you recall when you woke up the next time?
So I got woken up by some knocking. So at that point, I kind of just got out of bed and opened the door. When I opened the door, I see PD was there, I believe. And they asked if Ali was there. I said yes. I went to go get him, and I tried closing my door. At that point, one of the officers kind of just put his foot in the door, and I was like, can you close the door? I was at this point, I was just confused. I was like, hey, Ali, somebody's at the door for you. At that point, he stepped out, and I believe they read him his Miranda rights.
At some point, were you made aware or acknowledged that the defendant was arrested?
No, they kind of just took him, and then pretty much kicked me out of my apartment. I had my car at that time, and so before I left, I told them that like, hey, I did pick him up that night. And they're like, well, there was the keys to your car, we're gonna have to search it. So at that point, I was like, well, can I get dressed since, you know, you're kicking me out of my apartment? I had a dog and a cat at the time, so it gave me time to just like put clothes on, put my dog in the kennel, and then figure out where I was gonna go. At that point, one of the officers offered to bring me a canvas.
And you mentioned earlier that you had seen the defendant after, some point after he was arrested.
Yes, so I did see him via video at first. I believe on his birthday, his parents bailed him out, and so he was on house arrest. And so over the summer, I did see him 2 or 3 times, I believe.
And so you said he was on house arrest out of jail at that time.
Yes.
So you saw him in person?
Yes.
And when would that have been?
It would have been like early July, end of June. I remember being there around the 4th of July.
And what year would that have been?
It would have been 22, I believe.
So a few months after this incident.
Yes.
Did you and the defendant have any conversations when you visited with him?
Yes.
And can you tell me about those?
So during the time of my visit, his parents were kind of always around, or his sister was around. There was a time where we were able to like get outside of the house and sit in the trunk of my car. And at that point, I don't know how we were having a conversation, but I pretty much asked him like, hey, when we were on the couch that night, like you said you wanted to tell me something, what was it? And he was like, that I did it. And then I remember him making like some joke about it. And then at that point I was just like, okay, wow. Like part of me kind of knew just because of like the description and everything. And part of me is just like, maybe if I knew what the picture was like, because I didn't know anything until like the day after when I was like waiting on campus that like my sister called me and she's all like, you need to check the news. So I didn't know that there was like a picture attached to the offer. But we did have that conversation.
And so when he said he did you ask any clarifying questions?
He pretty much just was like, I choked her out. And then I didn't really ask any other questions.
And over the course of seeing him at that point in June or July of 2022, did he make any other statements to you about this?
I don't think so.
Did he ever mention the victim or aneurysm in this case?
I believe at one point he did ask me if I'd be willing to reach out
Your
to
Honor, I'm
her.
gonna object to this, may we approach?
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, did the defendant ever make statements to you about the victim, aneurysm?
So at one point I'm not sure if he told me in person or if it was over Snapchat, but he asked me if I would be willing to like reach out to her. And at one point he mentioned asking like almost in a sense to like pay her off. And I was just like, no, like I've been studying criminology at the university for a long time and I just know that's a red flag. And so I just said no and they kind of just dropped it after that.
Do you recall any other admissions that the defendant made to you?
So I know that before I visited him, he tried to overdose on caffeine pills. After that, he mentioned if he was ever to like leave the country, like to get away from this, that he would go back home to Jordan.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Ms. Ortiz, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So, your testimony is the night of April 25th, you kind of reached out to Mr. Younes and asked if he wanted to hang out with you sometime that night.
Yes.
And then you're not entirely sure when it was, but he said, yes, come get me, something like that, and you picked him up outside of Virgil.
Yes.
And then you went to your place, where the two of you remained for the rest of the night until the next morning when the Iowa City Police knocked on your door.
Yes.
There was some discussion of the hawk alert. I think, remember when you were asked by counsel and it indicated that Mr. Younes had gotten defensive?
Yes.
Remember that part? Wasn't that a reference to the color of coat that was circulating around on the hawk alert?
Yes.
So were you guys not looking at the photograph at that point?
No, so at that point, I'm not sure, but his coat was hanging from either like the back of the chair on my table or on the legs. Because sometimes I would mop and put the chair on top of the table. So I just remember looking at my table and it was right there. So it was just a few feet from us.
And I'm just trying to understand, was the hawk alert describing certain colors of what the person everybody was looking for was wearing that night?
Yes.
And your testimony is that Mr. Younes said that his coat was maybe some of those, but not all of those.
Yes, I also remember that in the description they gave like the color of the hair, whether I don't know if it was brown or black, but he also made a comment like, "Oh, my hair is not that color."
All right. This was in the context of the information you were already getting from the hawk.
Yes.
And then the statements that you were asked about later, these are after Mr. Younes had been arrested for these crimes, right?
Yes.
And you were still going to see him. Was that here in Iowa City, or was that?
It was in Sutherland. So my best friend lives in Storm Lake, so I just went up there and stayed with her mom. At one point I was staying in Lamar, so I just made like the 45-minute-hour drive up there.
In other words, you went to Sutherland, Iowa to spend time with Mr. Younes a few months after he got arrested.
So he was arrested in April. He goes to bail in June, and then I went and visited him like end of June, July.
Okay. Those are my questions for you. Thank you very much.
Any reader?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You step down from the witness stand. Next witness, please.
The state calls Ian Mallory.
So wow, guys. Oh, he confessing, right? You say you pretty brown confession. I would have go for him so fast, right? Maybe she just took it with a grain of salt. Maybe she thought he was just kidding or playing around, or she said he said it and then he tried to kind of like retract it, right? So maybe then, but I don't know after he got arrested why she was going to visit him. But for some reason, good girls like bad guys, right? I don't know, but I can't believe he out here confessing to, telling somebody about this stuff. And what do he mean telling her to call the victim? Really? Like, why you want to call the victim? I guess he wanted to check and see if she was okay. I don't understand. Like, they have to tell somebody. Like, it be burning in their soul to tell somebody. He's like, man, when the police come knocking, right, right. Absolutely. They don't know what to do. Oh boy. I wonder, they gotta have some video or something. He was her boo thing. That's why. Yeah, he was her boo thing. Boy, oh boy. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but whatever. I'm gonna get him to whatever. It's all this for my man stuff. Y'all watch that show? Oh gosh, I don't know if I got into repeat heaven or if they stopped making it, but ooh, that for my man on TV one. Ooh, we. You say pretty girl. Okay, you wonder what made him go after that lady? I don't know. It seemed like if I heard her testimony correctly, it appears that she was leaving from a jewelry store. So maybe he had scoped her out and seen that she had, because remember, he apparently allegedly robbed her for some earrings that were over $20,000. Right? 20,000. I really want to see these earrings. Yeah, he was probably watching the store. I agree. And then she had so much money on her. But I guess if you got $20,000 earrings, you can walk around with $1,000 in your wallet. I think she should be probably explaining that. Money and she looked wealthy. Yeah, and she said she was in a bad area when she was walking. But she even testified that, she felt somebody, and you know how you can get that urge of somebody feeling that feeling when somebody's walking behind you or staring at you too long or something making you feel uncomfortable. Like it got to the point that she admitted that she ran, but unfortunately he caught up with her and grabbed her from the back and put her to the ground. And that's crazy to me how, I know he was like choking her neck and stuff. And she stated that night she didn't have a black eye. But y'all seen those photos of her eye, like she was messed up. So I guess when she hit the ground, she said her glasses didn't break. Yeah, but the girlfriend got up here and told her on her boo thing, but they're gonna have to have more. What you say? They were back. He had to work to get them earrings off. I bet they was, yeah, he had to work. I don't know. She might have ripped them out of her ear. But she didn't say anything like that, like she had any damage to her earlobes, because I don't see where he had a time for that. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so weird. And then I don't even understand if he left the country and he was out of the country, why did he voluntarily come back here? I haven't figured that out. And as we were listening to the trial and listening to their testimony, I'm in the background trying to search up some information to bring to y'all because I'm still confused. I don't know, Benny. You tell me, because I'm confused. I don't know why he came back, because they say he voluntarily came back. Would you say, why would you make a physical purchase at the jewelry store and then walk home like la di da di da di da di at night, right? It's dark outside. And I know, this was close to it. It was on the campus or close to the campus or something in that vicinity. So I'm assuming that they gonna have to have some video footage or something. I just think that people don't think of all scenarios when they're doing certain things. That's just like, when you go to like the ATM, right? I'll admit, like, I've learned my lesson when you go to the ATM machine at night, right? I don't go to the ATM machine at night. Like, that's the one thing I learned my lesson the hard way, and sometimes you got to learn from experiences, right? So I would have never thought it, but I'm like, okay, well, the ATM machines, they have the cameras, right? It's not like they shut the ATM machines down at a certain time. And I was like, what, maybe 19, 20 years old, pulled up to the ATM machine. It was a car in front of me that had just went to the ATM machine. It was a house behind me where they were like kind of like hanging out. And next thing I know, I'm in the ATM machine trying to get me some money. And there's a gun pointed up to my head. And the first thing I did, you know, I'm like, I don't see nothing. I don't see you. Take the car. I don't care. And all they wanted was the car. But I learned my lesson. I ain't going no ATM machine that night. And if I am, somebody gonna be with me, and I want them to be looking out the windows. You know, I also, you know, I never forget one day I got pulled over by the police. I was probably speeding or something. And the police officer, I had my purse on the front seat, because that's, you know, the front seat is for my purse, right? And the police officer told me, he said, you never drive with your purse on the front seat. Put your purse on the floor of the car. And so just certain things like that, like once you, when you learn something or somebody tells you something, it kind of like sticks in your brain, right? So like even when I'm driving now, I'm always looking at my rearview mirror. Not to say that somebody after me or somebody, it's just in case. Like it's just it's a habit that I have now. Always looking at my rearview mirror, making sure nobody is following me. If I go into the office, I'm never taking the same way to work each morning. So those are just little tidbits that I've learned in life, no matter where you at, because it just appears that you never know who's watching you, all your moves and things like that. And those is, I don't know where I get so stuck on that, even if you got to make a turn at a different direction, but you don't want nobody to know your every move. And if you are doing a routine thing, then somebody knows it, like even if it's the neighbor, right? Okay, so Benny says he knew his parents were arrested and it was because of him. And that's why he voluntarily returned. So they never went to Jordan. They just helped him get out of the US. Yeah, they should have went with him. If y'all sending him to Jordan, y'all should have went with him too. Yeah, and I know we gotta have some kind of camera footage. Somebody gonna have to testify to that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put us back on play. But that's something else. Oh, yeah. So now we know why he came back. Because I'm like, well, why he come back? Nobody coming back volunteer. They would have to handcuff me and tell me I can't do nothing but get on the flight. Especially and I'd have made it out. All right, let me go ahead and push play for it.
All right, come on in. Witness stand is down here to my left. If you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be true?
So swear.
Okay, please have a seat. And once you're seated, speak into the microphone in response to the questions. And once you're ready, you can proceed with the questions.
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Ian, spelled I-A-N, Dennis, D-E-N-N-I-S. Last name is Mallory, M-A-L-L-O-R-Y.
Can you tell us where you're employed, Mr. Mallory?
I'm employed at the University of Iowa Police Department as a detective assigned to the Investigations Division.
And about how long have you been in law enforcement?
I became state certified as a police officer in Iowa in 2016, but I have more than 20 years of experience in some sort of law enforcement capacity.
Can you describe your training and education for your current position?
Again, I attended the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy in 2016. In my role as an investigator, I have obtained several other certifications and trainings, crime scene technician work, interview, interrogations, work related to cellular data forensics, analysis, video surveillance techniques, open source and social media investigation techniques.
And how long have you been employed at the University of Iowa Police Department?
I was hired in December of 2016.
Were you on duty on April 25th of 2022?
I was.
Do you recall what shift you were working?
I was assigned to the patrol division. I was still a uniformed patrol officer at the time. I was assigned to the overnight shift, which is 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Can you just tell us generally what your duties are on patrol?
That particular night, I was assigned to the east sector, which would be east of the river of the University of Iowa campus. My job is to protect the community, respond to calls for service, and then generally help the public in any which way that I can, protect the community.
And were you dispatched anywhere after 10 p.m. on that day?
I was not dispatched. I heard a fellow coworkers being dispatched to a medical emergency at the Art Building West. I was patrolling in the area of the downtown, east of the river area, and I heard my coworkers being dispatched.
So you didn't go directly to the art building at that time?
I did not.
What did you do next?
I continued on patrol and monitored the radio for any updates. At some point in time, I had heard from Officer Billingsley, who was on scene, that the medical emergency was not a medical emergency, but it was some sort of assault, and the assailant had fled north or northwest-ish from the scene.
And after you heard that report, what did you do?
I drove my squad car to the Iowa Memorial Union Bridge. I stayed on the east side of the river, and I got out of my car, parked it on the street, got out on foot, and stood on the east side of the Iowa Memorial Union Bridge, hoping or assuming that if someone was fleeing, maybe they would come my direction.
And did you see anyone of note on the bridge at that time?
No, I did not.
What did you do next?
I mistakenly became impatient and moved myself north. I went to the Hampshire footbridge, which is north of the Iowa Memorial Union Bridge, and I sat on the east side of the Hampshire footbridge, knowing that the assailant went north. I thought maybe I'd have a better chance of capturing someone or seeing a witness or having to do involved some way with someone crossing the northernmost bridge.
And again, did you see anyone on that bridge?
I saw two individuals, I believe someone on a bicycle riding east and someone else walking west, I believe.
Did you determine if they were relevant to these people working on
They were not relevant.
that? And what did you do then?
After sitting at the east side of the Hampshire footbridge for a few moments, I left that area and I went to the Manville Heights neighborhood, which is northwest of the art building. And I started patrolling the streets, hoping that I would find someone outside or out and about, just hoping to get lucky that I would find someone involved in crime.
And what did you do after that?
I patrolled those streets for several minutes. Listening to the radio, I heard Officer Billingsley radio that she and the ambulance were leaving the art building west with the victim, and they were going to head to the hospital. Hearing that information, I believed that there was no one left at the crime scene, so I left the patrol area and I went straight to art building west to basically set up a crime scene.
And what did you do then when you arrived at that scene at Art Building West?
I parked my patrol car at the northwestern corner of the building. I turned on all of my bright scene lights in my car. I walked around and I just started taking as many photographs as I possibly could to see if I could capture anything at that moment in time. I didn't know where a scene was because everyone was gone. I didn't know where the assault occurred, just that I was in the general area. I took pictures of vehicles, license plates, property, anything that I could find while I was standing there just holding that area.
You're a man.
You may.
Detective Mallory, my hand was marked as State Exhibit 26. Do you recognize State Exhibit 26?
I do.
And what is that?
Exhibit 26 is a photograph that I took before I had police tape up. This is the northwestern corner of Art Building West. This is a concrete walkway. It's extremely dark. I have my squad car parked behind me. You can see my shadows backlighting me with all my white lights turned on, trying to illuminate it. And then I believe I'm holding my flashlight in my hand, trying to add additional light to the stairwell area.
So is this a fair and accurate depiction of the photograph?
This is the photograph that I took that day.
Your Honor, at this time, I would move to admit State Exhibit 26.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, would you like to publish?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you have it on your laptop or?
Laptop. So Detective Mallory, you mentioned that you were holding a flashlight. Is that, where can we see that light reflected from your flashlight?
The high intensity portion of my light is focused on that stairwell. I don't know why I'm highlighting that stairwell. At this point in time, I really don't know what I'm taking pictures of. I'm just trying to light up as much space as I can and take some general area photographs.
Would the area normally have that much light?
No, not at all.
You also mentioned that your patrol vehicle was there as well?
Yeah, probably 40 feet behind me is my marked patrol car. We have a feature with the light bar where we can turn off the red and blue flashing lights and turn on very bright white, what we call scene lights, to illuminate all the area around. That's what I'm doing here.
Did you make any other observations while you were at the scene?
I noticed this wet spot on the concrete at the base of these stairs. I specifically remember looked up to see if there was an air conditioning unit or some sort of source for moisture that could be dripping down on the ground. And I was not able to figure out why this wet spot in the concrete existed.
And are we able to see that spot here on State Exhibit 26?
Yes.
After you photographed the scene, what did you do next?
I felt it was very important to identify exactly where an assault occurred. I asked for paramedic Sandy Hike from the Johnson County Ambulance Service to return to the scene after they left the hospital so she could identify and point me directly to the place where she was with the patient, the victim.
And were you able to gain that information on where she was?
Yes, Sandy Hike responded in the ambulance, got out, stood with me, and pointed to the area of that wet concrete.
And what was your next step?
My next step called for a canine unit. I contacted the Johnson County Sheriff's Office and requested an article searching canine that could potentially help track an assailant that would have been in the area. And while I waited for that canine to respond, myself and another officer put up police line tape around a very large circumference around the art building.
Detective, about how long did you remain at that scene that evening?
I was there until midnight.
And what did you do after you left the scene?
Prior to leaving the scene, once I was told I could leave, I pulled down all the evidence tape. I also documented the temperature, wind direction, precipitation or lack thereof, just to have a good feel for what that scene would be like years later. Once I was released from the scene, I went back to the University of Iowa Police Department to start reviewing surveillance video footage from the campus.
And do you recall what the weather was that night?
37 degrees, no precipitation prior to or post 10:18 p.m. Very, very, very light wind, but if you were in an open area, you felt a chill.
And you testified that you then went to review surveillance cameras.
Correct.
Does the University of Iowa Police Department have access to surveillance cameras throughout the University of Iowa campus?
They do.
Do you have an estimate on how many cameras the University of Iowa Police Department has?
I believe the current date is somewhere around 3,000. I'm not sure what the exact count would be in 2022, but our video surveillance system is absolutely critical to the ongoing public safety needs of a campus environment and solving crimes.
And as you went back to pull that surveillance camera footage, how did you know what to look for?
I was given a very vague description of a white and red or multicolored jacket or puffy jacket and curly hair. So I didn't have very good information of what I was looking for. And that's very frequent and very common in cases with eyewitness testimony. So I oftentimes look for behavior and mannerisms when I'm reviewing video footage. This time of day, I believe early in the weeknight, there's not a lot of people walking out and about on the university campus. And people are usually walking with a purpose or to a general direction or exercising. And abnormal behavior is sometimes easier to spot than normal behavior.
And as you reviewed those cameras, did anyone draw your attention, or did you develop a suspect?
I did.
And what camera angle did you first spot that suspect?
I first spotted the suspect on the west side of the river from a camera mounted near the theater building that's pointed south. And the first video footage I found would have been after the assault occurred. I saw a person behaving in an abnormal manner. I took note of their clothing description and then worked the video backwards from there to see where that person came from.
And were you ultimately able to determine who that person was on the surveillance camera?
No, I was not.
You stated you worked backwards at that point. Do you recall how many other surveillance cameras you were able to find footage of that person?
I used 4 different views for my total identification lineup.
At some point later, were you able to compile all of that footage into one video?
Another representative from the department compiled the video together, but I found the individual clips used in the combined video footage. That video footage that I found tells the story of the actions of the
And as far as you're aware, the surveillance cameras and that footage were all working properly, and that's an accurate representation.
It is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit State Exhibit 17.
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit 17 is admitted.
Permission, publisher?
Go ahead. Laptop again?
Up.
Okay, I'll just leave your laptop connected.
Detective Mallory, can you tell us what this first camera, or excuse me, where this first surveillance camera is located?
This first image and video is located at the exit of Burge Residence Hall on the University of Iowa campus. I did not locate this particular video because I didn't know who was walking through this door. My video that I identified was later.
So this video was located later during the course of the investigation.
Correct.
And are you able to see the timestamps on that video or date and time?
Yep.
And can you tell us what the date is on that video?
It's April 25th, 2022.
And what is the time?
9:56 p.m. and 38 seconds.
And are you aware if that timing is accurate as to the real time?
It is. Our milestone video surveillance system is networked to a GPS network clock, which makes the accurate time synchronized.
I'll see the video 8 seconds in. Detective Mallory, is there anyone on the screen in this where I have it paused that you were able to identify?
This is Ali Younes wearing his red, white, and blue puppy coat.
And he would be, is this exiting Burge then?
Yes.
we changed now to a different camera angle. Can you tell me where this camera faces?
Sure. This is the first bit of video that I started working with in the early morning hours on the 26th. The camera you're viewing right now, I'm going to pull up now, is on the east side of the Hampshire footbridge. This video camera is pointed directly west. You can see Hampshire Auditorium off in the top right-hand corner, maybe like the 1 o'clock position. And at the lower right-hand corner where you pause the video, this is a public green space area just northeast of the footbridge. It's a commonly used area that people would traverse in green space, study, and at nighttime smoke marijuana.
Can you see any individuals on this, where it's paused?
Yeah, this video is significant because there's a female wearing black pants and a gray sweatshirt who's already about halfway across the Hampshire footbridge. And I call this female number 1. She's walking westbound across the bridge, and Ali Younes in his red, white, and blue puffy coat is emerging from the public green space area, just starting to walk west on the footbridge.
Were you ever able to identify the female that you just referenced?
No.
Detective, it appears we switched to another camera angle. Can you tell us where this camera angle is?
This camera is on the west side of the river, near the feeder building. It is pointed straight south along this pedestrian walkway. These cameras are motion activated by human or vehicles, and Ali Younes is appearing walking from the north to the south, and deep into the frame of the video, past the third light pole, you can see that what I call female number 1, still walking south on her nightly walk or jog.
And this would be the same female that you identified on the previous camera?
Yes. Both are still in frame. The female is very, very deep in the exposure there. And he's just walking around that last curve, jogging around the last curve.
It appears we again switched to another camera angle. Can you tell us where this camera faces?
Sure. This camera is on a fixed pole on the west side of Riverside Drive, near the stairs that go up to the College of Public Health building. This camera view is pointed straight east and is honed, or what I say, preset to always try and focus in on the Iowa Memorial Union footbridge. One note about this particular view is this exact image is zoomed in incredibly, so it's very hard to determine depth or space when it's this far zoomed in. But in the frame, you can see the same female number 1 wearing a gray sweatshirt, black pants. She is just now making a east turn onto the IMU footbridge to cross the river to go back east. The other person you see on the bridge, deep in the frame by the headlights right now, is unidentified and unrelated.
And who was the individual who just walked into frame?
Ali Younes just made the turn from southbound to eastbound on the footbridge, left hand in his pocket, about to cross, walking east across the river.
Were you able to make a determination on how far apart that first female that you discussed and Ali Younes were?
No, I am certified in speed measurement and distance. I need 2 good, solid, fixed reference points to be able to determine distance between 2 people. Going this direction, I don't have that, and I'm not able to determine the distance between the two.
Now, as we watch Detective Mallory, are we continuing to see the defendant move eastbound?
Yep, both the defendant and female number one are walking eastbound. The third person who is uninvolved is now off the bridge walking to the north. And in a moment, when this car makes a turn southbound, you will see Ann Rizzo start walking westbound in your frame.
And you were able to identify Ann in these surveillance videos?
Yeah, I actually took a photograph of Ann in this surveillance video and sent that photograph to Officer Billingsley, who was still at who I believe was still at the hospital, and I asked, "Is this your victim from this case?" And Officer Billingsley said yes.
And I paused briefly on the screen. Are you able to see where Ann Rizzo is in comparison to the other individuals?
Yes, Ann Rizzo is to the left, the furthest person away. So as you're looking at this view, would be the smallest individual or smallest human that you can see in the frame right now.
And the defendant is still on the bridge or walkway at this time?
He's still on the bridge. He is walking east, and female number one is directly in front of him. The two, strike that. Female number one and Ali Younes are walking east, and in this long telephoto view, they're kind of overlaid on top of each other.
And if the defendant were to be returning to Burge Residence Hall, would this be a good way for him to go?
This would be a direct path back to Burge Residence Hall.
And that would be if he continues east?
Yes. And Rizzo would be the person on the left now walking towards us. Her framing figure looks a little bit bigger.
And Detective, are you able to see the time stamp at this time?
10 p.m. and 26 seconds. Female number one has left the bridge and is walking north, and the defendant is at the end of the bridge, changing his selection of who he wants to follow.
Your Honor, I object to that comment. That's not part of the evidence, that's the opinion of the witness.
Sustained. You can continue, next question.
Thank you. Detective Mallory, do we see the defendant stop at the end of this footbridge?
Yes.
Do we see him turn and come the opposite direction from how he's walking?
He changed his direction to go back west, yes.
Pause the video again briefly. Has the defendant made a change in his direction at this point?
Yes, he's walking west.
And is there anyone in front of the defendant that you can see on the video?
And Rizzo is in front of the defendant.
Is there anyone else that appears to be on the footbridge at this time?
There are only two people on the footbridge, it's the defendant and the victim. The defendant's beginning to jog.
And Detective, you had testified earlier that when walking east, you weren't able to make a determination of the distance between those two individuals. Is that right?
Correct.
Are you at any point while the individuals are now walking west able to make that determination?
I am.
And can you tell us, based on your estimation, how far apart the defendant was from Ms. Rizzo?
It's about 94 feet, plus or minus 2 feet. The defendant looks over his right shoulder right now.
And Detective, we see an individual make a turn at the end that closest to our view. Who is that individual?
That is Ann Rizzo.
And which direction is she now going?
It looks like she's cutting across the grass. She's cutting off the sidewalk. She's moving from walking west to now walking northwest.
And so what road would she be walking alongside?
She's about to approach North Riverside Drive.
We see that Ms. Rizzo has left the view of the camera. Does she return to this camera view at any point that you were able to find?
She does not.
You see the defendant continuing to walk which direction at this point?
He's still walking west. He's looking for someone or something at this point.
And which direction does he appear to be facing, or that his head appears to be turned towards?
He's looking northwest.
And again, Detective, it appears that we've switched back to this camera view. Can you remind us where this is?
Sure, west side of the river by the feeder building, pointed straight south. And now we've jumped to 10, 18, and 57 seconds. So this is during the same minute that the 911 call is received and responders were being dispatched. There's a figure coming into frame very deep into the shot, walking along the path, walking northbound.
And were you able to determine who that figure or person was?
It's the same person that I've been watching the entire time with the puffy red, white, and blue coat.
And as we're facing this, the way this camera angle uses, what bridge or footbridge would be kind of in the distance there at the back of that camera view?
At the far end of the back of the camera view is the IMU footbridge. At this point in time, or very close to this, I am parked and standing on the Iowa Memorial Union footbridge on the east side, and other responders are starting to respond to the scene.
And if an individual were to keep walking down this path, which direction, which footbridge would they be approaching?
If this individual were to continue walking north, they would end up at the Hampshire footbridge. At this moment, the defendant looks up and he sees Officer Maria Sanchez's patrol car in the Hampshire parking lot. She responded to the north side. In the background of that view, you saw another police car. I believe that was responding Officer Brad Milliken responding up Riverside Drive.
And at this point, where were you located?
I was still at the IMU footbridge on the east side, probably on foot still.
Does the defendant remain in this area for a period of time?
It does. The defendant looks to the west where the scene would be. He looks to the north, the Hampshire footbridge area, and he's looking to the south where the IMU footbridge area is.
And do you recall about how long the defendant remains in this area?
I'm going to estimate maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I got the timestamp would tell.
And Detective, just to clarify, it looks like in a couple of portions with this video, the video appears to skip or jump a little bit. Can you tell us why that might be?
Sure. As mentioned before, the milestone video system doesn't record all the time. It records motion. This particular camera is set to record motion of human beings. If there's very little motion and someone stands still, the recording stops. The video you're seeing is a continuous play in real time, with seconds elapsing in the upper left-hand corner. One good way to tell that the video is paused in that non-motion time is to look at the two red lights on the top of the smokestacks on the left side of the frame. When they're not flashing, that's obviously a time when the video is not recording due to lack of motion.
So if someone were standing mostly still, would the video report that?
It would not.
this individual waits here for a few minutes.
Yep, he's currently facing the direction of the scene of our building west, or looking west.
Detective, we see yet another camera angle. Can you tell us what this camera is?
Yes, this is the Ann Cleary walkway on the east side of the river where it intersects Market Street. So this would be the one-way street driving westbound, but the camera is pointing east. In the lower right-hand corner, Ali Younes in his red, white, and blue puffy coat appear on his cell phone, walking east.
And again, the individual was walking toward Burge Residence Hall. Which direction do they need to walk from here?
This is a path to Burge Hall. To go to the back doors, someone could walk west next to the Brain Rock down the Ann Cleary walkway, or continue walking north to Clinton Street and then turn left or north to Clinton Street north.
And again, Detective, there are timestamps on this video as well, is that right?
Yes,
And what time is that?
at 10:30 and 31 seconds. That was the last of the video that I was able to locate when I was working at night shift. This clip or frame was located by someone else the following morning.
And can you tell us where this camera angle now is?
Sure. This is a camera mounted on the south side of Burge Residence Hall, between Burge Hall and Dawn Hall. It's pointed directly at these light racks on the street you see in the lit area is Clinton Street.
And can you tell us again the timestamp on this video?
10:33 and 29 seconds.
And who do we see that figure in front of the truck that's driving by?
That is the same person we've been looking at in the video wearing the red, white, and blue puffy coat, walking north on the west side of the street, and they are on their cell phone. They're interfacing or using their cell phone at this moment.
Was this you said that you personally were not able to locate this video being you were working, is that right?
Correct.
Was this the last video that depicts the same individual?
Yes.
And after you gathered the surveillance video from all of these cameras, what did you do with that image?
I took still images from the best lit and best shot views that I could find from the video, compiled them on an attempt to identify a document that I sent out to law enforcement agencies across the county, hoping that other police officers would be able to identify the person pictured in the photographs.
And is this typical for law enforcement to provide photographs to other law enforcement agencies?
Very.
And after you completed taking the still photographs, what did you do next?
I believe I worked on my report and ended my shift at 6 in the morning and went home.
And after your shift ended, were you involved in any further investigation for this particular case?
For this aspect of the case, no.
And at some point, were you made aware that a suspect was located and the defendant was charged?
Yes.
Are you aware that the defendant then was arrested on those charges?
I am aware.
And do you recall at some point the defendant being released from jail on these charges on bond?
Yes, I was made aware that a bond was imposed and he was released to house arrest to his home in Southern Ohio.
And do you know what house arrest entails or how a person is
suppose the Department of Corrections has policies and procedures, but most of the time some sort of monitoring device, GPS, ankle monitor is used to monitor someone's location to make sure they're in their home.
And in this particular case, were you made aware that the defendant was on a GPS release?
Yes.
I'm gonna now kind of jump ahead in time a little bit to May of 2023. Were you further involved with this particular defendant?
Intimately.
And tell me what happened in May of 2023 that you were aware of.
In May of 2023, a patrol officer received all points bulletin on their computer telling them, officers across the state, that Ali Younes had cut his GPS ankle monitor device, was not able to be located in his home, and was in flight.
And did you assist with that investigation to determine where Ali Younes was?
It did.
And ultimately, can you tell us where the defendant went to?
Ali Younes fled the United States of America with his grandmother and went to where his grandmother and mother's family are in Georgia.
And are you aware if the United States is able to extradite individuals from Jordan?
The United States did not extradite from Jordan.
After it was determined that that's where the defendant was, did you have any further contact with the defendant?
I did.
And how would the defendant contact you?
For more than a year, the defendant and I communicated via email and then eventually WhatsApp, text messaging service to be able to talk to each other.
And how frequently would you say you had contact with the defendant starting in May of 2023?
Occasionally, it would be multiple emails per night. Sometimes emails would be exchanged over the course of a couple of days. Then there would be a brief lapse where I would not have any communication at all. I would send an email out checking up on Ali and seeing if he wanted to continue talking to me on a regular basis. And sometimes he would respond, and sometimes he wouldn't.
And about how long did these conversations go on?
Year and a week.
And what happened after a year?
After a year and a week, Ali Younes voluntarily surrendered to U.S. State Department authorities in Amman, Jordan, and facilitated his transport back to the United States.
So what year would that have been?
2024.
And eventually, did the defendant return to custody in 2024?
He did.
And did you have the opportunity to meet with the defendant when he returned?
He did.
And did the defendant make any statements or admissions to you at that time?
He did.
And can you briefly tell us what those statements and admissions were?
Related to the escape or related to April 2022?
Related to the incident in April of 2022.
I specifically asked Ali to take me back to the night, April of 2022. We first talked about person number one in the video. He said he recalled who that person was or that they existed, but was of no interest or consequence to him. Ali told me that he ran up behind Anne Rizzo near the art building and struck her or attacked her. I asked Ali specifically, did you put your hands around her neck? He said he did.
Did you have any, did the defendant make any further admissions to you at that time?
The defendant told me that his attack on Anne Rizzo was not sexually based. He told me that he thought that she had a lot of money, that the earrings that he stole he thought were fake. He intended on giving them to his girlfriend eventually.
And just for clarification purposes, Detective, all the units that you're referring to is the individual seated down in the short left, is that correct, in Shepherd Street?
Yes.
And all of these events on the surveillance cameras, the
still have that video up. Just have a lot of issues. If you don't mind, assisting. Detective Mallory, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I just want to, I think I understand, back in April of 2022, you were a nighttime control officer, right?
That's correct.
And then sometime between that, but prior to Mr. Younes meeting with you in 2024, you became a detective.
I was appointed to the investigation division in April of 2023.
Very good. Okay. So your role, you actually kind of had two different roles during this investigation because of how long this has been.
That's accurate.
All right, very good. You were not actually on the scene at Art Building West until, I think you said, everybody else had already left.
That is accurate.
And my understanding was you, once law enforcement was looking for this suspect, you stood by at the east end of the IMU footbridge, hoping to maybe see somebody of interest come across the footbridge.
Correct.
And I understand you parked your car, you didn't have your lights on, you were kind of quietly waiting there, is that the right word?
Exactly.
All right. And then, in your words, you became impatient and left that location and went up to the upriver to the handshake.
Yes.
Right. And the reason why this is the reason why you're telling us this is that you now know that Mr. Younes was apparently on the other side of the river, and perhaps if you had stayed where you were, you might have met Mr. Younes when he came across the river.
That is my assumption, yes.
But that's not what it was. Okay. Can you show me? Can you show me the diagram for the bridge? 10 of these. That's 2. Next, a little bit. There you go. That's not good. So, Detective Mallory, this is the view of the IMU footbridge looking east across the river. Is that right?
Yes.
And you, I think, mentioned this, that with the zoom in that you have on this camera, it is, let me ask you, that bridge is actually fairly long, isn't it?
Yes.
And in this video footage, the depth and exactly how far across that bridge is compressed. It gives the impression that perhaps it's a much shorter bridge than it actually is.
I have the exact measurements of the fixed point, which is where the camera is mounted, to the westernmost edge of the bridge, the westernmost lot where the first light post would be, and also a measurement from the fixed location of the camera to the corner of the old art building, which is the brick corner you see in the left-hand side of your screen. So I have those measurements identified. I cannot tell you the distance, the length of the bridge lies across.
Okay. And I guess I wasn't asking for an exact measurement, but just, do you agree with me that when you look at this, it doesn't necessarily do justice to exactly how far across the bridge is?
Yes, that's why I thought I needed estimation.
Right, and also then, if there are two individuals on the bridge, it is not easy to tell whether those folks are close to each other or further apart because of that depth issue.
Accurate.
Your testimony was that if Mr. Younes was heading east across that footbridge in that video, that still, one place he was heading directly for would have been the Verge residence.
It's a path to Burge Hall. If you were going east, Burge Hall could be a destination.
Right, and that is a place where he had left earlier and ultimately returned to.
Yes.
And then in the video, Rather than going to Burge Hall, we see Mr. Younes instead, around the time that Ms. Rizzo gets on the bridge, instead change direction and start coming back west across the bridge.
Yes.
Once we, I don't think that played, but once Ms. Rizzo makes a right turn into the grass, right, she disappears from view. Mr. Younes shortly thereafter comes forward to the camera and starts looking north. Your understanding is there are no other cameras on the west side or across, once the two of them leave this camera angle, there's no more video of them over by the Art Building West.
In 2022, there's no other video other than this one handheld Zoom camera. After this incident, we had to install additional cameras at this location because of this.
Gotcha. But at the time, that would have been it for videos in terms of between the timestamps of, say, 10:08 and 10:18 that night.
That is perfectly accurate.
All right. And so then, because at 10:18, move that forward a little bit. All right. So this is 10:19. The camera angle is now, the timer says 10:19 p.m., which is after the 911 call, after dispatch, after the EMTs have arrived on the scene.
I don't know when EMS arrived, but the dispatch time and 911 call time was 10:18.
Okay, so this is right around the time of when the 911 call happened.
The 911 call happened at 10:18. This is 10:19.
All right. And at any rate, your understanding is whatever incident happened at Garland West happened prior, obviously, to the 911 call.
That's accurate.
So from here on out, all of this video will be after the incident at Garland West.
Yes.
You indicated that you communicated with Mr. Younes when he was out of the country, and that facilitated his return in the second half of 2024. Is that right?
Yes.
Once he came back, he sat down and did an interview with you. Is that right?
He interviewed with myself and Detective Cooper.
And we might hear from Detective Cooper later on in this trial. But at any rate, whatever statements Mr. Younes did make to you, were those reported?
Yes.
And that would be a fair and accurate depiction of what both of you actually said in the.
Yes.
At this point, I have no further questions.
Read it out.
Just very quickly,
Go ahead.
Detective Mallory, as you see on this view here, you testified that this is after the 911 call, is that right?
Yes.
So around 10:19, do we see the defendant on the screen at this point?
We do. He's deep in the frame past 1, 2, 3, maybe between the third and the fourth light post there.
And are you able to tell us how far away this is from our building west?
It is directly across the street and on the other side of the building you see here.
Would you be able to tell us how long it would take a person to get from our building west to this point of the river?
I'm going to estimate 30 to 45 seconds.
That'd be perfect.
Any recalls?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You can sit down. Can I see the other attorneys?
Okay, so he calling the attorneys up here. Let's see what they're gonna talk about. No, you could keep paying attention. I don't even know if he's paying attention. Okay, Benny, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, send those over to me. Yeah, and we'll look through there and see which ones we should do. I just know that one for the butts, like I was telling you over the weekend, like I know he has something coming up. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, Benny, if you get it, if you, whichever one you want to do, I know the butts one is only gonna take us a couple hours to do, I think, like, not even a day, if that. And we can probably actually start that one early. Okay, so they have ended court today with Ali Younes on trial for attempted murder. We just got finished looking at some video surveillance, right? He's getting handcuffed. They definitely don't trust him with an ankle monitor anymore. He blew that chance when he decided he wanted to fly out of the country. Let's see if we catch a hot mic. I'm always trying to stay in the courtroom and get a hot mic. Come on, hot mic alert, hot mic alert. We still here lurking. Say something to us. They're not gonna say nothing to us. I might. Nah, they boring. Yeah, so I mean, they had witnesses march up and down. We heard from the two witnesses that found Ann, who is the victim. We heard from the first responder today. We also heard from the first officer that came to the scene. We heard from the first physician that actually treated Ann. We heard from the girlfriend at the time of Ali, who stated that he told her that he had strangled someone. He also confirmed his red, white, and blue puffy jacket. We heard from the victim herself, right? She explained how she felt his presence coming up on the back of her, and she started walking faster to try to, get away. And she said he just caught up to her too fast and kind of like grabbed her from behind. And next thing she knows, she was on the ground. Okay. Being, on her stomach. Then she was turned on her back and she was being strangled. And she stated what she told him in regards to just take anything. I will give you anything. Just don't hurt me. And it was so emotional. Even she said it's so slow, and she was explaining how she could barely get the words out of her mouth because he had strangled her so bad. Right. So we heard her testimony. And just lastly, we wrapped up the day with the detective that showed us the video footage of Ali, kind of like he was in prey. He actually was preying on another woman and turned around and kind of started following Ann. So, what is that? So that's different, right? Because we was actually able to see the video, and the video was like in 4K. You say another pack of nonstop fun day, right? Yeah, we was a little everywhere today, right? I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a verdict tomorrow on the Preppy Boy murder trial. We went over there and hung out there for a little bit today to see what the jury wanted to ask, and then once they were sent home, we'll continue to watch over that trial. Tomorrow we'll kind of flip between this one and Karina's trial, but it sounds like with the Karina trial, they are planning on, the judge did tell them to have a full list of witnesses tomorrow. So, but we also know jury instructions are due to the judge tonight. So we'll probably get that one going to the jury pretty soon. So I say we'll have it. I think the jury by Friday, because I don't even think the defense even call in any witnesses, but we shall see, right? That's what I can say about that. in that one. No problem, Benny. I can't wait till tomorrow so we can get started. I'll send out the alert is already out there. So make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share, right? Make sure your notification bell is on. We got a lot of things planned for us over here. We're going to do some replays and look at some more testimony tomorrow with Karina, and we're going to see whatever other evidence they bring in for Ali. So all in all, we're going to have an action-packed week. Yes. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Well, guys, you're in the right place, right? Where there's no filters, no fluffs, just facts, right? So you can be the judge. All right, guys, good night, and I will see y'all at the top of the morning so we can go right into the courtroom. Have a good evening. Thanks for hanging out. You too, Benny. Have a good one. Get some sleep.